Good evening. I would like to call this this regular meeting of the Governing Board of the Lammersville Unified School District to order at 7 o'clock. I'd like to let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded, and please silence your cell phones at this time. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Ann Goodrich. Here. Sharon Lampel.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Simran Gunsi.
Here.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Facilities Committee, we've not had a meeting since the last board meeting. Our next facilities meeting will be on July 27th at 6:30 right here in the boardroom. Wellness Committee.
We're going to defer. Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
You gave me that smile, and I was like,
I would like to present the winner for the relay recess competition this year, and it goes to Wickland School.
Very much on behalf of Wickland and outstanding community. Very proud to be part of it. Thank you.
I think that's Mountain House's version of the Stanley Cup right there.
And as you all saw from the slide that was up, Lammersville Unified fundraised over $2,300 for the Relay for Life, which is coming up this Saturday. We've modified the schedule a little bit. It was set to go from 10 in the morning to 10 in the evening. We've decided to go from 10 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon, take a 6-hour break in the heat of the day, and then resume at 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the evening. So if anyone can make it out there this Saturday at Central Park, please come on out. And we will move now to the governing board reports. Student trustee?
Due to it being summer break, I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Goodrich?
I, too, have very little to report because it is summer break.
Thank you. Trustee Clements?
Well, I hate to be three on a match, Mr. President, but I don't have anything to report either. I was at the board meeting this past Monday.
Thank you. Trustee Lampel?
I will break this trend. So I had the distinct pleasure of attending the Mountain House Serves fundraiser for the McHenry House and VBR Foster Family Agency on June 10th at Bethany Elementary. Mountain House Serves is a group of Mountain House High School students that serve their community for social change. They are a very impressive group of youngsters. This event, while a fundraiser for two worthy organizations, was also a celebration of diversity. These poised and well-spoken youth were an impressive example of tomorrow's workforce. I was at the board meeting Monday also. That's all I got.
Thank you. Trustee Balzerini?
Nothing to report.
I have very little to report. I did want to mention that I was unfortunately unable to make it to the Mountain House Serves event, but I did meet with the young ladies and gentlemen who are part of that group, and I was very impressed. They're very well-spoken and have a real feel for community service, and proud that they're part of our school district. I was not at the board meeting on Monday.
Well-deserved vacation.
Thank you. Public comments, I see none, so we will move on to consent items for consideration. Approval of governing board meeting minutes from the regular meeting June 7th. Budget revisions and warrants, approval of contracts under $25,000, MOU with San Joaquin County Office of Education Science Department for Next Generation Science Training, $4,500. CSBA Good Beginnings Workshop, $2,000 plus travel. MOU with San Joaquin County Office of Education for Special Education Services. Benchmark, 8 days of professional development for 3rd through 8th grade teachers, $22,400. Approval of hires, acceptance of resignations, approval of updated fundraisers, acceptance of donations, $1,445.68 from Altamont PTA for the kindergarten field trip transportation, $2,185.58 from the Altamont PTA for Altamont 4th grade field trip transportation. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
So I don't want to pull anything. I just wanted to make a comment. I'd like to request kind of a board procedural thing. When I was reading the minutes, it was very confusing. Noel writes down exactly what we say when we're making comments. So I would like to ask the board if when we're referencing a page number, if we could also reference exactly what it is. If you remember at the last meeting, there were a lot of board policies, a lot of LCAP, a lot of documents that we were reviewing. And in the minutes, it said page so-and-so. Well, we shouldn't have to go all the way back to the old agenda. So if we could reference what the document is to make the note-taking a little bit easier for Noel, I personally would find that helpful.
Sounds reasonable.
Motion in a second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. District administrative reports, superintendent's report.
So I have a,
Nicholas?
oh, sorry.
Wait, we didn't welcome people. That's really important. Okay, get to work. So, on behalf of the board, I would like to welcome Lisa Eisman, self-contained classroom teacher, Sarah Fusen. Reading the wrong one, okay. So, I would like to welcome, on behalf of the board, Amanda Rose, culinary arts teacher.
Welcome.
We're all a little off tonight.
All right, now, Dr. Nicholas.
So just a quick update. Jimmy and I attended the construction meeting today. The pool will be turned over to us next week. So we have some logistical things still to work out in terms of pool maintenance and the like, but that's exciting. It appears that the Learning Commons / library will come our way sometime in September. And it looks like the theater and the CTE building are on pace to come to us in mid-December. All subject to change, but those there were some concerns with weather days because of the winter, but at present, that's where we're sitting. And then I asked Heather to put together a brief presentation to kind of explain to the board and community generally an overview of all the professional development that's going to come forward for our teachers over the course of the next school year.
Good evening, President Pombo, Trustee Superintendent Nicholas. I'm excited to be able to be here tonight to share with you the professional development plans that we have for the upcoming school year. In order to talk about the plans, so it's important to note how we got to where we're at, and that comes from the work that we've done over the last couple of years, working with teachers and our site administrators, and really being responsive and listening to the concerns and requests that they have in order to help make sure that they can do the best job that they can do in order to meet the needs of our students. So as a reminder, if you think back 2 years ago, we were implementing RCD because there was no curriculum out there and available for all of the shifts and changes that came with the new Common Core state standards and the new CASP testing, and all of the NGSS for the new science standards was just coming into play. So there were a lot of changes going on, new technology rolling out into the classrooms to help students be better prepared for the 21st century in college and career readiness. And one of the things that our teachers really requested is, said, one, we're being asked to learn a lot and develop the curriculum all at the same time in order to teach our students. And we really need to have a curriculum. And so they talked to us at committee meetings, they talked to us at the RCD development meetings, they came and talked at board meetings. And so through the course of 2 years ago, we went through the adoption process and we were able to adopt the ELA curriculum. The coordinators developed a revised RCD 2.0 entirely, including assessments for the teachers. And we rolled all of those out this year. We began a science committee in order to look at NGSS and getting prepared for it. And we continue to do the professional development that they were requesting and needed to understand the shifts in instructional practices that with English language arts and with math around the math practices and the new curriculum that was involved. So the current 16-17 year has been all about, and this is a handout. This is an overview that we started with at the beginning of the current school year for 16-17 year, just laying out the professional development and the committees that we had this year. We added a new teacher orientation in order to help better support our new hires with all of the changes that are going on. We added the Blended Learning Academy, and then we had all of the implementation rollout and professional development during the year. We continued to give surveys and listen to the teachers and talk to them through email and talk to them at the committees. And one of the things that really came up during the year was we really need more coaching, we need demo lessons, we need to understand what this looks like, and we need more professional development from our English language arts committee members. So we responded mid-year, and you won't see that reflected on that sheet, and we added additional days of training and demo lessons in English language arts, and we added a whole slew of demo lessons that our coordinators provided at each of the sites individually for the various grade levels. So we continue to monitor and adjust. We also added committee meetings to look at the assessment trainings. So what we're doing this year really builds on that and the ongoing feedback that we got, asking them, so what do you need next? What do you need in order to take this into the next year? And that's what brings us to this slide, is that it's really about supporting our teachers so that they can support our students. And so this year's theme is called Making the Core Common, a play on the Common Core standards language, and the fact that we've gone through a year of implementation of two programs, two content areas this year. So really what it's about is, okay, we survived. Now we don't want them to just survive. We want them to be able to thrive implementing this. We want to take those next steps in the NGSS standards so that they're not overwhelmed. We want to make sure that this year is really about getting solid with everything that we're doing. And we have a pretty good sense already from the data that's coming in, the preliminary data, that for all of the survival mode that we felt like we were in this year, we did really well. And that's a big credit to our teachers, our administrators, our students. So we're very proud of them. So what does that look like this year for our TK through 8th grade team. We are going to have additional contracts, and we're using the contracts right now to secure those dates. It takes a lot of time in order to schedule all the logistics across the year within the district calendar and to lock in those dates with the companies. So we'll have additional training from Benchmark and Houghton Mifflin, in particular focusing on small group instruction, which is a big area of need. We'll also go deeper into the ELD and into writing, if all goes well throughout the year. In math, we're going to continue to do work on coaching and demo lessons in particular, and we've kind of spread that out into their early release days. They have a much better hold on that math, and we'll do some little mini workshops. We'll continue to look at the math adoption in the 6th through 8th grade. They're doing Discovery Math Tech Book, which is also what they're doing in the high school. And then the teachers who aren't part of piloting in the K-5 curriculum and 6-8 will continue with the RCD 2.0 that we have this year. And then our pilot committees in K-5 teachers, they will be looking at my math. So we'll have that pilot process going. We'll begin to roll out some things for NGSS, very low threat, and it builds on our PLTW work and expansion. We'll continue our technology tools and instruction, the things that we added, such as Go Guardian, that the teachers were really requesting to help them to manage the student devices and present collaboratively really more efficiently. We'll have training on those. We'll provide training to support the 2 school sites where we're rolling out the new classroom technology that we worked on as part of our plan last year. We'll add in the character counts anti-bullying component, which again is just building on the character counts program that we already have in place. And we'll continue that work on meaningful feedback and evaluation through the professional growth committee work that they've been doing. So the whole year is really focused on building and getting really good at delivering that core. What does that look like for the 9-12 at the high school level? At the high school level, that is really around making the core comment around the tenets that the high school was built on. Those things such as mastery-based grading, the success period, technology as a tool for 21st century blended learning instruction, those types of things. So they'll be working with Doug Reeves and working with their leadership teams in order to put all of those things into their full benefit at the high school. We'll also continue to build on the growth that we've made this year with our math professional development, with the implementation of the Discovery Math Tech Book. And we'll be rolling out those 3 new courses for the integrated science and the 3-year science requirement that we have for the NGSS. So that'll be another part of what they're working on at the high school. And of course, all the way along, we will continue to monitor and adjust and collect feedback to make sure that we're meeting their needs the same way we've done this last year. So that gives you a look at what we're doing. Any questions?
I have a quick question. What exactly is KITE, K-Y-T-E?
Kite learning is truly online blended learning for our teachers and our classified staff. We've paid a subscription to it, and they can go on. It is ISTE, International Society of Technology Educators.
I remember you describing it at one point.
Yes.
I just didn't know
so
what
they
it was
can take
called.
any course that they, hundreds and hundreds of courses that are on there and continue their own learning around those computer programs.
Thank you.
Very impressive. You come a far way in a short amount of time. I would like to add to the list, though. I think that for the superintendent, I think that's a great place for DARE. And at this time, I'd also like to request a presentation on DARE in the near future for the agenda. In speaking to our DARE coordinator, there seems to be some inconsistencies among the campuses, and we want to clean that up. I think that's a good place for it.
All right.
So
To make sure we get all the dates.
yes, and to make sure we get all the dates.
Absolutely.
I have a question, and I don't know, it might be a separate presentation later on down the road, but I am interested to learn more about the anti-bullying components of character counts. I'm not sure I'm not saying that's bad. I'm interested to know more about what that is.
Yes, and unfortunately, I wasn't directly involved in that work, so I'm not going to have that answer. I apologize.
Like I said, it may not be for right now. I'm just
Yeah.
interested if that's the direction we're going. I'd like to know more about it.
This is a list, and I neglected to mention, it's not an all-inclusive list right now, but this is the general thrust of what the professional development plan looks like. And it's very small to see in that, so I just have a separate little handout that kind of lists it.
So this isn't for Heather, but kind of piggybacking on what Trustee Clements is asking, maybe not just what is the anti-bullying component of character counts, but an overview of district-wide, what are all of our anti-bullying efforts, so we can see it all in one place. Because I know there are different programs that have different components. So if we could bring it all together and present that to the board, I think we would be able to answer the public on, here's what we're doing.
If it's all right, I think if we waited till all the principals came back, I think we could.
Yeah, there's no urgency.
And just, Mr. President, for clarification, it's under the Wellness Committee, right?
Yes, that is under the Wellness Committee, and I sit on that committee. I don't feel versed enough in the anti-bullying components of character counts to answer any questions on it, but I do feel like it would be something good, perhaps once the Wellness Committee is meeting again, and as was mentioned, the principals come back, and that we can have a presentation on that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea to wait until the principals come back, because they all have things that they add to that might be outside of a program just due to their own expertise.
Absolutely.
One more question for you. Are you going to make one of these for this year?
We do have one in draft form right now.
This is fabulous.
Yeah, and there's actually, that's just one version. There's a 912 version, there's a site administrator version, so there's 3 versions for the appropriate audience.
Can you send one? I would like to attend, if I'm available to attend any of these
Absolutely.
meetings or trainings and just check it out.
Yes,
I was thinking the
absolutely.
same thing.
Thank you.
I am so thrilled to see the list of topics for the Fridays, because so many districts, not here, that early release time is a waste. It's obviously not a waste here. So I love seeing this. Thank you.
In fact, so dedicated are our sites that there's often a wrestling match over who's going to control the topic, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Thank you, and I would,
Thank you.
I would just like to say how impressive I feel it is, all the professional development that our staff are getting, because if they don't understand how to teach the curriculum, how can they teach it? Thank you.
And you never stop learning as a teacher. You should never stop learning in general, but as a teacher, it's always changing. Right, Ann? That's right.
Thank you. Item B, District Maintenance and Operations Report. Mr. LeGrand.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Nice tie.
900 degrees out, and you came in with a tie. Very impressive.
Apparently everybody likes it, so I'm going to start with. I'm feeling much better this time. I have to apologize for my last meeting. I was really, really sick, but I feel much better today. So, as you know, it's been really hot this week, so we're advising staff to do all their outside work in the mornings and then do some indoor work in the afternoons. We don't want anyone getting any heat stroke or anything like that. I did attend the construction meeting today, as Dr. Nicholas mentioned. The carpet replacement continues at Wickland. They have all the 12 classrooms done in the 600 wing. They have the demo done in the library. They have a demo done in the old boardroom and the demo done in the band rooms. And then once that's complete, only the kindergarten rooms will be left. So probably sometime next week they'll be done. Okay. The Prop 39 work that we had the extra funds for is complete at Bethany. They finished yesterday. They started at Wickland this morning. They thought it'd take 5 days, took 7. So hopefully Wickland will be done by next week as well. The summer cleaning continues at all the sites. Most of the sites are ready to move on to waxing the floors, clean the carpet, so they're making good progress. That's good. Our M&O staff is out painting parking lots and curbs this week. Tomorrow we're having 4 hours of pool training, pool equipment training from 8 to 12 over at the high school. So it'll be myself and a few staff members over there to get familiar with the equipment. And then after that, we're going to start getting stuff ready for the groundbreaking ceremony on Monday for Hanson. So be ready to go. And that's what we're working on thus far. Answer any questions?
Of course. Tell me what I'm going to ask you about.
How I'm feeling?
I'm so glad you're feeling
Oh,
better.
Altamont.
Thank you. So we heard a presentation from, I don't remember what organization the guy was from.
Barry from
Guaranteed,
Turner.
guaranteed it was going to be identified and fixed by the time
They
school
brought out the
starts.
leak detection
Where
equipment.
are we?
So, to my knowledge, they didn't find it. Did you hear? Maybe you know.
No, essentially they've run all kinds of gas through it, and I think at this point they recognize it might be an identifiable situation, but the solve is,
Like I said, the rerouting. So, looks like it's going to happen. I got an email yesterday from Wes asking what kind of flooring we want back in the room, so I responded to that. So we're making progress. It'll be ready to go when school starts up in August. So
There is currently no seepage any longer?
No.
Okay.
No. It was just that one little period in the wintertime when there was a little bit of moisture on the floor, but it's been really dry for the last 6 months.
Wow, okay.
So,
I'm just very cynical when somebody guarantees they're going to identify it and fix it.
well, they'll fix
wasn't
it. They'll
you.
fix it one way or another. However, how they fix
That's
it is
fine.
there's more than one way to skin a cat. So they'll get it fixed. So,
Yeah.
any other
Thank
questions? Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to say something since Mr. LeGrand mentioned the pool training. I think I've told everyone I'm in charge of our pool at work this summer, and got a phone call, and this is just something we may want to think about in the future. The football coach called me, and since it was so blazing hot, wanted to know if he could do his workout with his guys in the pool. So I'm like, okay, we'll keep a lifeguard there and stay late so you can work out in the pool. Just these kind of things that we have to look forward to.
absolutely,
Because it made a lot of sense.
it does.
Item C, cafeteria year-end report. Mrs. Hill.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm hot. Sticky, but I'm good. We've had a good year, as we have in the past. I've been pleasantly surprised by a number of things. I will have final numbers. The numbers you have in your packet are not final for the end of the year because we still have summer school going. While the kids do receive free breakfast, we still get state and federal reimbursement, and then we have a few expenses on that. So these are not the final numbers, and also we will have our indirect costs that need to come out of that, which is approximately going to be around $57,000. So all in all, we're ending the year in the black again, which I'm proud of my kitchens for being able to do that and still provide good food. All of the kitchens have met their goal. They're all digital. So everything we do, all of our production sheets, everything is on the computer in a web-based software. Very easy to look at. Helped me a great deal with my administrative review this year. I clicked a button and printed everything. It was great. We served 53,902 breakfasts. We served 348,592 lunches. I'm very proud of my staff for doing that. We ended the year with about 15.04 free and reduced, so we actually went up just a smidge at the end of the year. And while we held somewhere between 39 and 42% participation, we declined at the end of the school year. We did see a decline over the school year at the high school, quite a bit. We did a little bit of research. Obviously, seniors are going off campus and we have a larger senior class. However, we are finding that those students that are leaving campus are bringing food back for their friends. And some of them are making money at it. They're quite the entrepreneurs, we have found out. $10 and I'll go get you a burrito that costs $6. So, so that's impacted our numbers at the high school a little bit. So because of that, I don't feel like I'm going to increase my staff at the high school this next year. We'll see how we run. If I feel we're getting bogged down, then I'll rethink that. We had our administrative review where the state came in and audited us. They don't like that word, but I'm going to use it anyway. I was scared to death to do this, but I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and we did pretty good. We had 12 corrective actions, most of which were either taken care of before they arrived on site or by the time they left my sites. We had 4 at Altamont, 5 at the high school, and 3 on my part for administration. Most of them very basic and very simple. Some of them had to do with menus. We made those corrections and we fixed it on the spot. I don't believe there will be any fiscal action for us. I don't have the final report from them, but as far as I know, we should be okay. One of the issues was our paid lunch equity, which in my learning curve, I wasn't completing the form correctly. I was given some education, I sat down, we had to go back 3 years and figure out where I made the mistake. And moving forward, we've been told that we are out of compliance and we need to raise the amount that we are charging for lunch. In your packet, there were 3 options that the state has given us. I'm suggesting the option of only increasing by 10 cents this year, and the reason that my recommendation is that, and not to just jump to $2.75 and say we're done, we're compliant, is that we continue to grow. Our district's continuing to grow, and we could end up evening out. So let's not send that to our parents. Let's just do the 10 cents and see what happens from there. So that's all I have.
Well, I'll make the comment that I always make. Being a board member that was here when we were constantly in the red, very proud. Thank you very much. And I understand there's a learning curve. Glad to have you. Glad to see your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you.
You already answered my only question was about indirect costs because there was nothing in there.
There was nothing in there.
You explained that.
Yes.
And I absolutely appreciate you're not overreacting to an audit finding and saying, let's move slow. So thank you for your expertise on that and the fabulous work you're doing.
Thank you.
And I will just echo Trustee Balzerini's comment about the years that we were in the red. It's very nice, and in recent years that we're in the black and moving forward. And I think the quality of the food continues to get better and better. And when I visit the campuses, I do eat in the cafeterias, and I think it's pretty good stuff.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You left out a piece at the end of that sentence, the quality gets better within very tight restrictions.
Yes.
So, and that is a skill.
Yeah, they're easing up a little bit on us, so I appreciate that.
Well, and Bernie, I'll let you know, I know you weren't at the last meeting, but I'm on the legislation committee for CSBA, and some of our legislators are trying to bring even stricter guidelines, nutritional guidelines, and I'm pushing back.
Thank you.
I was able to sway our group to kind of push back on this individual legislator that's trying to create these standards that can't be reached. And I made the comment that the kids are going to throw the food away.
Yes.
They're not eating anything, so we need to lighten up on these restrictions.
And we see it, they're throwing the food away, and in a district like ours, where the kids have the option to eat, they don't have to. Our free and reduced is very low. I want them to enjoy their meal. I want them to come and enjoy it. And kids that are free and reduced shouldn't have to settle for food that's not good. So.
And I think that our legislators need to understand that there's a balance between optimum nutrition and something the kids will eat.
Yes.
And that's just,
Ask any parent.
Yes, and it's a constant battle that California School Nutrition Association and the National School Nutrition Association are constantly battling with our government. So, but I thank you for pushing back. Thank you.
And on top of all of that, to meet cultural interests in foods of our community.
Yes.
So many school districts are serving wraps.
Yeah.
Well, in my school district, we served wraps. No one ate it because our community doesn't eat cold wraps.
Right.
They eat warm wraps, and
Right.
they call them tortillas.
Yes.
They were not interested in cold wraps, so you
Yes.
really have to meet your clientele.
Yep, and we continue to put stuff out there, hoping that the kids will enjoy it, especially at the high school. I spoil them a little bit.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
The students appreciate it too, so thank you.
thank you. Action items. Item A, consider approval of 2017-2018 inter-district transfer requests. Staff report?
None.
Move to approve 2017-2018 inter-district transfer requests.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B.
As clerk of the board, I'll introduce item B. Consider approval to adopt governing board ordinance 1617-1 for levying special taxes in Lammersville School District, Community Facilities District Number 2002, Mountain House, beginning in fiscal year 2017-18 and each fiscal year thereafter, and ratifying the levy of special taxes in fiscal years 2003-04 through 2016-17.
This governing board introduced on June 7th an ordinance levying special taxes in Lammersville School District, Community Facilities District Number 2002, Mountain House. Under Melrose Act, 2 more steps are required for adoption of an ordinance. 1, the governing board must adopt the ordinance at the next regular meeting, and 2, the clerk must cause the ordinance to be published or posted as required by law. We will now entertain any comments or questions from members of the public. Seeing none, do any members of the governing board have any questions? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion and a second to adopt an ordinance which is entitled An Ordinance of the Governing Board of Lammersville Joint Unified School District Levying Taxes within Lammersville School District Community Facilities District Number 2002, Mountain House.
I will move to adopt governing board ordinance number 16-17-1 for levying special taxes in Lammersville School District Community Facilities District Number 2002, Mountain House, beginning in fiscal year, 2017-18, and each fiscal year thereafter, and ratifying the levy of special taxes in fiscal years 2003-04 through 2016-17.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call?
Matthew Balzerini.
Aye.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Ann Goodrich.
Aye.
Sharon Lampel.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Item C, consider approval of revised certificated management job title, description, and salary. Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Assessment, and Technology. Staff report?
Yeah, so we're going to start the school year with 5,000 kids, give or take a couple. And as we did with the associate superintendent position, it's time to start solidifying the work amongst the high-level administrators. Essentially, this reclassification takes all of our technology work and gives it to one executive, and better aligns the work with the curriculum and the instructional program. So it's our recommendation that the board approve this reclassification.
Questions or comments from the board?
I would just say it's well-deserved.
I'll move for approval of revised certificated management job title, description, and salary, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Assessment, and Technology.
Second.
Further discussion?
As a point of clarification, Mr. President, for the record, this is completely different job than the assistant superintendent position that we previously had, because it's primarily focused on information technology with some other stuff involved, correct?
I would say that it's a completely different position, and that the focus is instruction, assessment, and technology. The technology is not piecemealed up amongst multiple staff members.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of updated board policies and administrative regulations. Staff report?
This would be the ratification of the second read of the first read from last board meeting. Don't know where that came from, and I apologize. As it was coming out, I knew it was bad, but I just went with it.
Move to approve updated board policies and administrative regulations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consider approval 2017-2018 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP. Staff report?
So this is the last event. We've had all kinds of different ways of communicating this out. It's a annual renewal of the LCAP. There is a one-page summary, which is in green and yellow, and also for anyone who wants to review it over the course of the year. Any changes to that renewal would be in yellow or green. So we're recommending that the board approve the LCAP for the following year.
Questions or comments from the board?
I would just like to thank staff for all the hard work that they put into this.
Ditto. Move to approve the 2017-2018 Local Control Accountability Plan.
Second.
Further questions or comments? And I would just like to say also thank you to staff for all the hard work and for jumping through all the hoops even when they're moving. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval of 2017-2018 July 1st budget financials report. Staff report.
Just to say that congratulations to Alvina and the team in Business Services for their extraordinary work. We celebrate Bernie from earlier tonight, and now we'll celebrate the business department as well. This is the budget, so we recommend a formal approval.
I have a few questions. First off, I appreciate the summary. That always helps.
Yes, there's that July 1 snapshot.
And
264.
under the section where it talks about the, it's page 17 on the document, statutory rate, you've got it shows 15-16 through 19-20.
Right.
Taking into consideration the pension increases that we know about through the fiscal year 23-24, is there any way for us to see further out what that's going to look like and how it's going to impact our district?
I will say that it will impact the district, that I could probably, as you see the multi-year projection assumption sheet that shows the 3 years out in detail, that begins on page 413. I can expand 2 more years out on that schedule because I'm required to show that we can afford our operating costs for the current year and 2 years out. I do get concerned with these STRS and PERS increased contributions from the district because they will impact LCFF funding. What we're required to approve doesn't show that impact at this point, but it will impact us with the amount of rates that we will be needing to pay.
My understanding is from 2014 to 2024, it's a three
Yes.
times it's going to increase.
And we see some increase that's reflected in the current, this next year and 2 years out. But when I get into the first interim, I will be required to go out 1 more year, and we're going to see the impact. We're going to see potential, if we start to, obviously the growth here has helped us, but we could see some potential impact where the expenditures are going to increase in statutory costs for these retirements that are going to eat away at our ADA funding.
And if I could add for the members of the community, this is an unfunded mandate from the state that they are having the school districts through their block of LCFF block grant fund the retirement deficits for both the teachers' retirement system, STRS, which pays for certificated employees, and PERS. And at any given time, they can continue to increase the amount that we have to put in. So there is a 1.85% ongoing up through 2020 from CalSTRS. And then they also, and I believe it's CalSTRS the legislature has to vote for, but they've also already changed their return percentage, which is going to pass on even more onto the districts. CalPERS is more freedom because they have their board vote and they can change the rate of return as well. So not only is there an unfunded mandate, but they could continue to add to it, as Trustee Balzerina pointed out, into the distant future.
And if I'm not mistaken, the increases have a compounding effect. They're not just that much of an increase, it's that much of an increase on top of the increase.
That's correct.
On top of the increase, so it keeps growing.
Yes.
Scary stuff.
Yeah, it's a concern.
So what I'll do is I will make sure to provide that information during our interim reports, the effect 2 more years out on this district.
And then on page 19, when you're referencing the minimum reserve,
Yes.
And there's a comment here, says county offices continue to reinforce a need for reserves over the minimum reserve requirements.
Yes, and we actually did discuss that on Monday. A district our size is required to place 3%, but that barely covers 2-3 weeks of payroll. And I know we had a really quick discussion about researching what others are doing, maybe changing it to 6%, because that's been the norm, 6 to 10% for some districts. So I'm on that task to bring some information back. I'm sure a board policy would have to be approved.
Well, I can get you, CSBA is fighting this.
Okay.
The governor added this language as part of a trailer bill, SB 858, and that's where this led from. This was the governor and CTA making a backroom deal, and CSBA has been fighting it ever since. So there is potential legislation coming that will overturn that. So just so you know,
Great.
and I'll keep you in the loop on that.
Since everyone wasn't here on Monday, what the conversation was that in fear of this legislation that says we can't have more than 3%, many school districts have a board policy saying what that percentage is. Where I work, it's 9, and we strive to keep that 9. We've dipped below, but we get back. So I just kind of put it out there to do some research to say, do we want to do some kind of board policy to say what our minimum should be?
And I had suggested that we at least double it so that we have, if 3% is 2 weeks' worth of payroll, that we have a month's worth of payroll. Since our employees are paid monthly, we need to at least be able to cover one paycheck for them.
Well, by legislation, 6% is the max. We cannot go, I mean, by state.
Right, so that's why I was saying to double it, so that we at least.
If we're going to go over that, we need to be very careful,
Right.
especially if they dip into Prop 98
Definitely.
funding. There's penalties involved with that.
So, okay.
We don't want penalties.
Well, so doubling.
Yes, that would work.
Don't have reserve to pay anything, and oh, by the way, keep paying out for stirs and purrs because of mismanagement.
Yes.
There's a disconnect.
And I would like to thank Ms. Kaiser for not only her hard work, but for also using her crystal ball to look into the future for us to keep things
Sixth sense.
covered into the future.
Move to approve 2017-2018 July 1 budget financials report.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider approval 2017-2018 consolidated application for funding. Staff report?
The Consolidated app is essentially an explanation of how we use our title funds. We recommend formal approval of this as part of our annual process.
I had a quick question. Reading through the Con app, I have nothing better to do with my life. There was something in there, a question about are the DLAC minutes posted on the website? And it's not a requirement that they
not a
have to be on the
requirement.
website, as long as they're accessible. So my question is, why don't we put them on our website?
We could. And that is something that Irene Busatil and I were going to start trying to develop and being a little bit more transparent online
Yeah.
about what is going on at DLAC.
Because our DLAC has become such an event
Yes.
where we are not really having a formal meeting and reviewing the minutes from the meeting before. So that's
Right.
what made me think it would be nice to have them on the
Agree.
website. And I did read, it's not a requirement. We are not out of compliance. I just thought it would be a good idea since we don't review them at the next meeting.
Yes, and Irene has been very involved and very willing
Yeah.
to work with us on these.
Thank you.
I apologize. Did we have a motion?
No, move to approve the 2017-2018 consolidated application for funding. I was going to let somebody else have the joy, but
I was going to do it. Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, consider approval of elementary school paid lunch meal price increase. Staff report?
I'll defer to Bernie's fine presentation, but if you have any questions specific to it, but the recommendation is the small 10-cent per meal at the elementary schools.
I will move for approval of the approval of the elementary school paid lunch meal price increase as presented.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, consider approval of 2017-2018 Facilities Use Rental Policy Handbook. Staff report?
So all of the amendments that happen throughout the year are all put together, and there's one formal adoption, and this is the process to adopt all the changes to the facilities use rental policy handbook. And then when that vote is done, I'd like to ask Alvina to speak to if we've been contacted by anyone interested in renting the pool.
I would like to thank you for putting together the handbook and being very clear on what was appropriate attire. It was crystal clear.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it.
Do an addendum.
It was wonderful. So thank you very much for addressing
You're
that.
welcome.
It's a living work of art.
Yes.
Just have a question. Regarding the high school track, it says that scheduled hours of public use are located on the website.
I need to check with Mr. Benfobert to see if he's adjusted that. I don't think there has even been any, the interest has kind of fallen. I haven't received any phone calls. As far as the high school pool, I had one community member that said, is the pool open for us to use? And I said, well, and the school site has, the high school has put in their pool reservations. And then there's one church who has inquired about doing a 2-hour use of it, so we would charge appropriate fees. We haven't opened it up to the public yet. I want to make one last-minute call to Lavinia Woods to ensure she's done placing her Title I events before we open it up for the public, which of course won't happen till next week.
In
As far as the
regards,
track, I haven't heard anything.
okay, because I looked on the website and I can't find
I will check
where
with
it
Mr.
would be.
Faubert.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I haven't looked recently. When I did look, there was a schedule, but no availability on the schedule.
I couldn't find it. I don't know where it was located on the website. So, all
If
right.
it's, I'm
I'll
not
check
sure if
with
it's
him.
still where I found it or not. And I don't
Probably
know
needs
that I
to be
could find it again if
revised.
it's still there.
Okay, we'll do.
I'll move for approval. Are we done? Okay, I'll move for approval of the 2017-18 Facility Use Rental Policy Handbook.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item J, consider approval of 2017-2021 Technology Sustainability Plan. Staff report?
At the last board meeting, staff gave a presentation on the tech sustainability plan, so we're recommending approval of this plan.
Questions or comments by the board?
Yeah, I did have one question. Let me see if I can find it. It was the plan references the student generation. Based upon it sounds like the numbers might be a little off now.
We knew that. We
Okay.
knew that we were going to have to keep revisiting those numbers because, again, the crystal ball is sometimes difficult. I mean,
Yeah,
we
it
grew
almost-
quite a bit just over the last few weeks, so yes, it will
Looks like
have
it's
to
off by almost 2
continue.
years now.
Well, you're probably just looking at the difference between the
Well,
needs.
it's estimated
Yes.
enrollment, yeah,
Yes.
so, okay, thank you.
That's why it's estimated.
My crystal ball says this is going to be a living document like the facility use
We
plan.
did discuss that. We did discuss that.
Open to regular adjustment.
Yeah.
Well, I move we approve the 2017 to 2021 Technology Sustainability Plan.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item K, consider approval of 2017-2018 Montessori of Tracy Agreement Addendum to add a before and after school care program. Staff report?
Yeah, this finalizes our work with the Montessori program to make sure that the program is available after school to our families and staff.
Questions or comments by the board?
I just have one question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I have kind of an odd question. And so when we charge rent, it's for use because we have to sustain like the wear and tear on the facility. So if they're expanding their hours to have before and after school, do we increase the fees?
So we charged by the space, and unfortunately, we kind of ran out of space over at Altamont, and we were forced to put them into resource rooms so we could continue having services for sites. So one of the comments they had made was, well, now we'll have to buy a second set of materials to keep in 2 different locations. So when we approved this last or a couple of meetings ago, we only charged them per room over at Cuesta. This is to add the spaces that they're going to be taking at, alternate spaces for them,
Right.
for their use.
But that didn't answer my question. My question was, so they are expanding their services to before and after school, right?
They've always had those services.
Okay,
They've
that wasn't
always
clear in
been
the
there.
paperwork. Okay,
Yes.
never mind then. Thank you.
Yes.
My question, it says for Altamont, use of resource rooms or 1 classroom.
If it becomes available. Right now, it's just resource rooms. We have 1 classroom over at,
Can we add that
Steph.
language then? To make it say if it becomes available?
yes, I thought we had that in there. Yeah, because I put or 1 classroom. Okay, I'll add that language.
Yeah, if it becomes, I understand it, just looking at this, it doesn't
Okay.
articulate that.
It should be clear that
Yeah, it should
we're not
say if
promising
available.
them a
No.
room at the
Right.
expense of our needs. It's, if we have the room available, it will be available to them.
That is correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion?
With that, all
Where it is.
move to approve the 2017-18 Montessori School Tracy Agreement addendum to add a before and after school care program as amended.
A second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, approval of Governing Board Resolution 161723 regarding the 2017-2018 Education Protection Account. Staff report?
In general, this is tied to Proposition 30 legislation, or not legislation, but the Prop 30, what would we call it? A bill. Yeah, Prop 30. There we go. Don't need to add extra words. And it ties to the LCFF funds, and most of our funds go to teachers. Alvina obviously could speak to it better than I can, because right now I can't even say the right words.
It's the heat.
Thanks.
So this current, for 16-17, we received about $6.6 million from the Education Protection Act, and it is projected to be $6.4 million in the 17-18 year. And yes, we're using it on teachers, and I also have put the music teachers allocated into that as well.
Further discussion?
I'll move for approval of Governing Board Resolution number 1617-23 regarding the 2017-2018 Education Protection Account.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Aye.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Ann Goodrich.
Aye.
Sharon Lampel.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Item M, consider approval of
Houghton Mifflin.
Houghton Mifflin Hardcourt Journeys and Collections Professional Development Services for 2017-2018 school year, $34,000. Staff report, $34,300. Staff report?
This is a training that Heather referenced in her presentation, but it goes to making the core common.
Discussion or comment by the board?
I move we approve the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Journeys and Collections Professional Development Services for 2017-2018 school year, $34,300.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, information and discussion items. Board Policy Committee. Staff report?
So I did some research after last board meeting in terms of the volume of BPs and ARs that roll forward. And the number that rolled forward from last year was 73. So I had a conversation with President Pombo earlier today about getting staff feedback and taking a look at the committees and their configurations and maybe combining some and making sure there's a balance between who's on what committees and the amount of time commitment there are. But in light of that, I think the easiest solve for the volume of 70 plus board policies and ARs a year would be to form a committee which should have 2 board members and staff. It is a 4 times a year that the CSBA releases recommended changes to board policies and ARs. They roll out approximately October, December, March, and May. So the general idea would be that in December and in May, there would be a review of what came forward and then a recommendation to the board. Obviously, the board reviews all of it as well, but after that careful analysis, so we can address it in a way that doesn't feel like a backlog and that there's, no matter how many we put into the packet, we're never getting caught up. So that is my recommendation is to form a committee that would meet 2 times a year to address the ongoing board policy rollout.
Question or comments by the board?
You're a little tongue-tied tonight. 2 times a year or 4 times a year?
CSBA puts them out 4 times a year, but the committee would meet twice. So let's say, just for simple math, there's 20 at each rollout. Then in October, the committee would get it and review. We would meet in December and review the second 20, bring it to the board for review, have a conversation about it with information coming from the committee, approve those, but have the committee do the work of the analysis and kind of breaking down and answering questions so that when it goes to the board, it gives the opportunity, similar to the facilities use, where they have all the discussions, they bring it forward, we make approvals based on a general overview and do it that way.
I don't object to the committee, but it didn't answer my concern that I had raised. I mean, I just think we need to plan when we bring those huge chunks of board policies to the board. We need to plan it better. We can't be reviewing 15 board policies on the same night that we're reviewing the LCAP. It's volume in one meeting. That was my concern. I don't object to a committee. I wouldn't want to be on it, honestly.
I like the idea of the committee. I would love to be on the committee. My recommendation would be to meet 4 times a year when the policies come out, and that way we can get them right out to the board.
want to do 20
and they're smaller. You get
Yeah.
a smaller pack.
I agree.
And that way, hopefully, that can help
But we
reduce the
still have
numbers.
to read them.
Yeah,
That's-
the reason why we had this discussion, if I could insert, please, was that Trustee Lampel was concerned, like I've got, and I didn't, I had facilities, I was on the facilities committee, so that big document I'd already reviewed. I was on the district advisory committee, so that big document I'd already reviewed. And so her concern was, we have all this to do. Well, even if there's a committee, right, if Trustee Lampel is not on the committee, if I'm on the committee and my committee brings, or the committee, not my committee, the committee that I'm on brings it with a recommendation, she's still going to have to review it or rely on me, or the committee. And I think she's saying reading it is
4 times a year is doable. The idea would be is to time it better, and I don't think the backlog problem will be a problem moving forward.
It's the timing of the presentation for me. That's really all it was. It's not to do all of them at once, even if the committee does meet 4 times, and let's say, I don't know, 8 come out of CSBA. We don't have to do all 8 in one meeting. We could do 2 at this meeting, 2 at that meeting, 2 at another meeting, just to spread it out. Because I just have to say again, I don't think that the documents at our last board meeting were able to get the attention and the detail to attention by all the board members that those very important documents all deserve.
But if there are, give or take, 80 a year that we have to deal with, and we have approximately 20 board meetings, we're going to have to do 4 at every single board meeting if we...
4 is fine.
And 4 is doable.
4 is doable. And then I can read an LCAP.
Well, just as a reminder, I sit on the legislation committee. I have a phone conference on Friday. We have 20 pieces of legislation to review. We just met 2 weeks ago and did 20 then. That's 40 in a month. I mean, with a full-time legislature, they're trying to get their name on as many bills as possible.
Could we, as an alternative to doing board policy and AR every single meeting, could we get them maybe at the same time the committee gets them so that we can read them over time?
Absolutely.
That'd be...
I just want them spread out, that's all.
But I mean, if that would
Yeah.
effectively
I guess,
spread them out.
but to be honest, there's no way that there's always a possibility there's going to be some kind of, I mean, it always exists. I mean, they were being spread out. It was a backlog that got away from a staff member. So we did get caught up, but I don't want you guys to have the big thick thing. I think if we put together a committee, come up with a way to keep it rolling out, we can. We can approve 4 a meeting if that's what you want. But if they're coming out at 80 a year, the reality is it's.
Even though I was explaining, wanting to make sure that Trustee Lampel's concerns were clear, I understand the other side. Being the president and superintendent of this district and trying to plan out, it's not going to be perfect, right? And so I have faith in the president and the superintendent to do their best to smooth out the work. And then when I see a big packet, yes, mentally I groan, like, oh, it's going to be a long weekend. But I know that this is, that it is what it is. This is, that, so I personally as a board member I know some board meetings are tougher to review all the documents than others. And I know that's just part and parcel with and, subject to the spread it out as best you can. I'm willing to support what happens.
And this is the work that we signed up for. I'm not complaining about the volume of the work by any means. I just want to be able to give important documents the attention that they need. And I had asked for some consideration of this in the past, and nothing happened. So that's why I was bringing it up again.
Well, with the volume that the state generates, I don't think it's a district's problem. I think it's the state's problem, which we have no control over. However, maybe we can look at a way that we can triage the policies, because the state mandates, we don't have an option. We have to adopt them.
When the changes are due to state mandates.
So maybe we can triage them and
maybe the committee can do that.
Yeah.
Is
Just triage
them and say, okay, here's of these 15, these 10 are state mandated. It really doesn't matter whether you like them or not. And so here's the 10 that are state mandated, and then here's the 5. Maybe we can spread that out. Maybe a committee could do that,
and at least kind of look at. We're going to need to spend some time on this. We have options that we need to look at, and
so don't bring this with 15 others.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the LCAP and the facilities use and whatever else was on that last agenda.
Yeah. That's something that if we had that committee, would it have to be an attendance committee where you're actually, because, English language advisory, district English, DLAC, you gotta have to be there. Is this something that we could have phone like I could call in? A board member could call in for that one?
With the grant committee, and I mean, Sharon can speak this better than I, is like no one showed up, and then we got people to show up one time, but then they tried that. So all options are on the table. The whole idea is the state mandated policies don't get in the way of the business of the district. Mm-hmm. And that there's a balance between having to prepare for the business of the district and taking care of mandates from the state. At the same time, not getting backlogged, which is what was the original creator of the problem. So let's put the committee together and then come up with a plan, and we'll roll it out and get feedback. And the whole idea is that what Sharon's saying doesn't happen, but we don't get the backlog either.
The summary of my point would be, maybe we don't do board policies in June, because all this other stuff is going to happen every year in June. The LCAP, the budget, the facilities use handbook, because that was what we adopted to do. That's all.
Well, I would be interested in being on the committee.
Bless you.
Sorry, I have to read and write board policies at work.
I'm not at all interested in being on the committee, but I will.
You can't have three,
I've expressed my interest, so.
right?
So President Pombo and I discussed earlier about taking a look at all of the committees, because some of them served a purpose a couple of years ago, and now maybe not so much. And so I'm going to bring some recommendations to him, and then we'll go forward from there. But now that we have this direction from the board, we'll put together something that tries to solve this problem.
And Mr. President, if I could make a recommendation that a board protocol maybe is that's something that the president does in June, is review the purpose of the committees, and then the new president in January selects the members for the committees.
All right, that sounds like a reasonable suggestion. Is there any further question or discussion on the Board Policy Committee? Moving on to item B, band room cabinets, staff report.
So whenever a big item comes forward with the high school construction project, I bring it forward. The last one I brought forward was the conversion from normal lights to LED lights in the theater, which is the long-term best interest of the program. In the theater, there are general cabinets that were put in that makes sense. There's nothing wrong with the cabinets, but the band director and principal went through and have requested that we take a look at the cabinets that are in there and make them more individualized with more of a locker with a lock. They feel like better accountability for students, better safety for instruments, better care and maintenance of the instruments. So I believe that's a legitimate request on their part. It comes with a cost of about $100,000. The cabinets have to be more custom, and so this will come out of the contingency. But any big dogs, I bring them forward to you guys, and this is obviously an expensive request for a change, but I think it's the right request, especially when we're investing so much money in instruments in the program.
Who would be selecting these cabinets?
So it's all kind of the bidding process, but there's already a bidder who was selected to do the general cabinetry work, and then when this new request came in, they give an estimate, and so that's when I went eyebrow raised. That's a lot of money. We had a lot of conversation about it, but in the end, their justification was legit. So.
In a previous district that I worked in, we had built a new multi-use room at a middle school, and part of that building had band rooms, and they put in cabinetry that was very similar. It sounds similar to what you're describing. They looked like lockers, but they were cages, so people could see what was in them, and I just wanted to throw that out there. That worked out really well when the teachers got in there and started using them. They loved them.
So I know that we requested of the two, the staff at the high school, okay, so if this is what you want, then you need to do some research and we look around. But it looks like the price, no matter which direction we go, will be similar. But anyways, that's just an item that came forward that was outside the scope, but I think a legitimate request.
And I think in the long run, it's going to wind up saving us money as we're able to put away and lock up expensive musical instruments.
Yes, as opposed to storing them on the floor of the classrooms.
Yeah.
There was a story in the news recently about an area, I think it was around Sacramento, where somebody had gone into a high school and stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars in instruments.
Yeah.
Both instruments that belong to the students and to the school or the district, and so it's real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real concern. And we're going to be expanding that program. It definitely needs to be thought about with some forethought, so seems reasonable.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Moving on to calendar. Wednesday, June 28th is the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting at 6:30. Tuesday, July 4th is 4th of July, and the district office will be closed. Saturday, July 8th is the CSBA Good Beginnings Workshop, which I look forward to seeing my fellow board members at. Wednesday, July 19th is the next regular meeting of the governing board. And Thursday, the 27th is the next meeting, July 27th is the next facility committee meeting here at 6:30. In just a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session. We will be discussing public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, public employee appointment, employment evaluation superintendent, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, conference with real property negotiators.
Move we adjourn a closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned to closed session. Thank you and good night.